Okay, David Zaritsky for James Bond Lifestyle Video Podcast. You can tell by the beautiful blue waters that we are in the Florida Keys. Beautiful, incredible day. Why are we here? Well, a lot of things have been filmed in and around the Florida Keys. One thing in particular, License to Kill, the 1989 Timothy Dalton last movie for him. He really utilized a lot of the different environments of the Florida Keys, and we're going to see a slew of them today. I know you're going to be excited. They haven't changed that much since 1989, so we're in for a real treat. Let's go take a look and have a lot of fun.
The sun's a bit of a killer at this angle, but
one stick at a time. Yeah, we got cigar on the cigar and other guys. So our guest and
This is a big treat today. The conch train that is coming was actually seen in License to Kill when Dalton is meeting up with the DEA agent. You clearly see these trains in the back, and I believe it's actually going to be our mode of transportation today. Alright folks, a little dodgy right now. We'll try to get a bigger sign than this, but that is the sign that you see, again, when Bond is meeting up with the DEA. Joe, kind of explain the scene for us, if you would.
okay, so this is where Bond gets into Key West and he meets the DEA agent. They meet right in this area through here.
Right.
They end up walking
this
straight
way
down in front of the Shell warehouse, and then they turn right down that alleyway towards the back off to the right.
Excellent.
Tour, License to Kill, of course, released in '89. Somewhat controversial film. Either it's loved or hated, depending on your point of view. It was to be shot in China, but due to The Last Emperor coming out, director John Glenn thought it best not to try to compete with Last Emperor and move the location to the Keys, which may or may not have impacted the film's success, because one of the criticisms, it starts to take on more of a grittier Miami Vice drug story. So with that, I know we have to get moving on. We can touch a little bit more on the production later. I'll introduce our guide, Gary.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Gary.
And a very special guest with us today is Captain Bill Grosco, who you'll recognize. He is the ship handler. He'll talk much about that of the Sea Eagle, and appears in the film as Q's stunt double.
Nice.
Excellent.
Apparently. Okay, here we go. Now, folks, as we pull out here, I do need to tell you a couple of safety issues. Please don't stand up at any time the train's moving.
Fleming Street, during the filming of License to Kill, from this street all the way up to Duval, this entire street was blocked off. And this is where all the cast and crew were staying at the La Concha Hotel, and they had their main offices and the commissaries and so forth. But you couldn't turn left during the making of the film because it was blocked off. One interesting thing, that film, when it was made, the original title was called License Revoked. And the Brits, in their wisdom, figured out, well, that title wouldn't really catch on with anybody because nobody in the United States knew what the word revoked.
Tim Dalton stayed here for
right behind
filming.
the Marquesa here. This is the American
His
flag.
father was played by one of our local postal employees, a fellow by the name of Sam Lancaster. And it was quite a scene. They blocked off traffic for about 2 blocks all the way around. And the property was so charming that many of the crew just hung out after the cameras had packed up and the cables were rolled up. And even Tim Dalton came back here several times to lounge around in the pool, because the movie company had leased the house for 60 days. So they took advantage of the charm of the property itself.
Yeah, there were quite a few shots from the outside, just down the street here, short ways. Of course, at one point it was surrounded by crime tape. Yeah. 707.
Point of view is looking this way when Dalton comes back. Notice the address, 707.
Yeah. We're just 90 miles from Havana. We're 157 miles from Miami. We're 365 miles farther south on the globe than Cairo, Egypt, right? Able to disembark. And I'm going to have to take the train away right away. So, yes.
Can you make an announcement that they don't climb the lighthouse? That's after the tour.
Yeah, the lighthouse across the street here on our left is after the tour of the Hemingway House. So if you'll do here's the Hemingway House here on our right. Is a great tour. You'll really enjoy it, and really a great place.
Yeah, but we're not asking them to find, that's after our whole tour is done, they can come back.
Oh, I see. That's not part of this tour. Okay.
Very nice. Standing there on the wind.
Captures the artwork on the walls has been donated by different members of the community. You'll hear me talk a lot about Pauline Hemingway over the course of the tour. It is the only one of his wife in the house. It is Pauline who removed the ceiling. Turn to you on Valentine's Day. He understands one concept, that is that dogs have masters and cats have staff. Two another Pauline's favorite chandeliers. This one is Hamelum and Asian glass, Liano Murano in Italy. Certainly an exquisite piece. I'm sure it was very expensive at that time. It's definitely the centerpiece of Pauline.
The lighthouse with the sniper. Hey Joe, can you just kind of come over here and kind of talk us through what we're looking at right here? So this particular angle.
This is the angle we see in the movie as Bond is walking towards M up on the balcony here, right after they come into the Hemingway house.
So this is not where he jumps over the railing.
This is the side. He jumps over the railing right up over here.
Where Paul is standing.
Actually, a little further off to the side. He runs off this way. This
Okay.
area was all wooded and full of trees, which you can see it's now all cleared out.
So this is someone tried to jump over this on the last tour?
No, we just faked it.
Thank goodness.
Like we were taking some photo ops.
That would have been a broken leg.
The continuity issue comes in where he comes up the staircase.
Right.
The staircase is on the other side of the building.
Got it.
So when he comes up the staircase and turns around, you then see him walking down this way. So there's a cut in between.
Got it.
And the earlier cut, when we were at the market, the Hemingway house is nowhere near the market we were at earlier. Where he meets
That's true. So he
mediation.
sees the market, he sees the train, and then he walks into here. Hollywood magic at its best.
They switched some locations at this point. He looks like he jumps.
Yeah, but it's not.
Oh, he lands someplace else.
It's,
he
only,
lands
it's
in a
only
very
like half.
thickly-
Amazingly, they turn a corner. Time warp. This will help you kind of get your point of view shots.
So, a little bit more movie magic. The DA agents and Bond come up here and make this particular turn. What's interesting is they don't wind up on this little corner. They actually wind up. Hit it again. He winds up on this particular corner. But they made the most of the area. Joe, what's this spot? What's the significance?
So in the beginning, when Bond arrives at the Hemingway house, M is standing at approximately this location watching Bond walk into the building.
That's right.
However, when Bond later meets him as he comes up the stairs, M's standing over in the corner.
And standing in the corner,
Right,
and
and
yet
that's-
they walk up on the stairs on this side. Unbelievable. Amazing. Everybody taking turns going up and down the DEA stairs. It's a must-have. Could this be where Bond ran through? A little forested, no? Maybe not.
Sure. It looks like he some kind of like animal or
Come on, don't be afraid.
Look at that pond. That is a six-toed cat. Very fabled.
Good boy, Howard. All right, now it's our turn. Come on.
Is that a screen use prop?
No, he's got. Is that, that's
Six
like,
points.
yeah.
Yeah.
Harry? Oh, stop stalking him, man.
Look at that one.
Yeah.
You're gonna lock down.
That is so
All
funny.
right, Howard. Come on.
Mutants. And a different angle of the balcony. And the jump. It's the corner where Em was standing.
Imagine jumping off on your little podcast. And then we could have picked, you could have
Oh,
rolled
and done the
over on
roll.
this end. We picked you up, you could splice the two together. Nobody would ever notice the difference.
Not in the script. But he just happened to have the gun in his hand when M said, "That's it, your license is revoked." And he looks at the gun and says, "Farewell to arms," and then jumps over.
I guess this is
Wow.
a farewell to arms then.
Yes,
Wow, ad lib no less. Very cool.
Where is our guy?
With Nick, with skunks above the church, they had to take all the power off the grid for the safety of the parachuters coming down.
But they love that.
But they turned that one off.
Hey Joe, where are we now?
So this is the scene in License to Kill where Felix and Bond parachute in to Felix and Bella's wedding.
Very nice.
And the exterior looks largely the same. The biggest change you'll notice is the courtyard here on the ground. There was red carpeting and a lot more trees around the outside. And these two palm trees weren't there.
And that fountain was a faux fountain, or that
Yes.
they had? Okay.
Could be at the time it was real and they took it out later, but that was largely put in for the movie. And another secret, Bond and Felix don't actually parachute in, they were lowered in on winches
No kidding.
from cranes that were positioned right outside over here.
You're just popping my bubbles left and right. Much better shot of the angle of the church. So if you would imagine them parachuting down, and of course, straight into the front. And again, as Joe succinctly put, has not changed that much. So if you come here, don't forget to get some of your authentic License to Kill props in the form of St. Mary's material. There's always some way to get a souvenir.
Well, I'm a pilot also. Yes. But anyway, and all off hours, because we spent a lot of time on the water, we would fish. And we were out on a second Sunday. Nobody worked on a Sunday. And I picked up this rod, and it was nice. He was mine, a 12-pound test. And he saw a school of tarpon coming out over the reef. And he cast his spoon. I said, "God damn it, don't do that." He said, "Why not?" And all of a sudden, this tarpon picked up his spoon. And I have a still picture of Tim sitting there, his eyes about this big, and every goddamn ounce of line is just streaming right off. As far as I know, that tarpon was down in Cuba someplace now. It's still making it because he was new to the art of acting. But appreciated his professionalism. And off camera, he was a lot of fun. Lord Paul Weston was the chief stunt coordinator for all of the Bond films going back. The underwater scenes were done, the battles, the machine guns and everything. Well, we took the crew out there, the gaffers, the cameramen, the electricians, so they get a feel for the general area we were shooting, and they were all making notes as to. And the Broccoli family always made sure there was plenty of food and fresh fruit and everything on board. And they brought along fishing rods. So all these Brits are out there and they decide to go fishing. Now we're only in about 14, 15 feet of water. And Paul comes over and he says, "You want to have a bit of fun?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Where's your scuba equipment?" And I said, "Well, it's here." So he goes over, he talks to Tim. And Tim and Paul and I put our scuba equipment, we went to the bow of the boat and shinnied down on the anchor line. When we got down, turned our regulators on, we took bananas, swam to the back of the boat where all these guys were fishing seriously for gray snappers, and we hooked their hooks into the bananas and then tugged on the lines. And of course the banana and it imitates a fish coming up. "Hey, it's got a fish on. No, I got one too. Oh, on me, there's another one." And they're pulling up bananas. And we were off the side. We laughed so damn hard. Tim almost choked to death on salt water. He was laughing so hard.